Welcome! This is a training video number 2 on how to prepare the preference import file. The file has a certain structure that you need to follow to make sure the preferences are imported correctly. During this training session, we will cover the structure of the preference import file, the logic of the file, and the name as well as the format of the file. To make it easier, the template is separated into colorful blocks, as they have similar logic behind them. The structure of the file is fixed, so you don't have to add or remove any columns. The first column is TVV ID. This is a unique Transcom ID. Something to keep in mind is that if this field is blank, the record is going to fail. The group of columns last name and first name are for your reference only. These fields will not be used for import process, so you may choose to leave them blank if you wish to do so. In the record type field, you specify if you want to add, delete, or update the existing preference. If you wish to add, you need to select 0, 1 for updating the existing, and 2 for deleting the preference. If the preference record type is 2, the only mandatory fields are Transcom ID and set name and set type. Everything else can be left blank. This applies to preference and unavailable time files. If you leave this field blank or specify wrong code, the import is going to fail. Another group of columns is set name and set type. Set name is where you specify the preference set name. It has to be pre-configured in WFM already. Set type is where you specify the type of the preference set. The two possible values are single or multi. Preference number and line number are used in single preference import mainly. When using record type 1, we should specify the line number to be updated or inserted. When using record type 0, the line number is to be left blank and to be sorted from top to bottom. Days is a column to specify number of workdays per week. Hours minimum and hours maximum allows you to specify the weekly work time goal in hours. Please note that time format needs to be used. The same as in WFM, either days or hours need to be filled, but not both. If both days and hours are filled, the record will fail. Longest and shortest span defines the preferred shift length you wish to import to WFM. The same as in WFM, you are able to define the span preference as longest, shortest, or none. If you leave this field blank, it will be considered as none during the import process. Very similar is a group column defining available shift times. This is where you define the start, stop, or available times to be imported. The same as with span shift lengths, you are able to define the time type as start, stop, or available. The shift length and times have to be defined in a time format. The documentation will offer you the list of formats for every column in the import file. Columns Monday through Sunday are to define days of the week. You need to mark true for the days you want the preference to be entered for. If this field is left blank, it will default to false. Lunch preference values can be as in WFM, earliest, latest, time, or none. If you will leave this field blank, it will default to false. Lunch time defines lunch preference. You only need to specify the time in hour format when lunch preference is time. Few other things to keep in mind. You can use multiple lines to specify preference for one employee. The priority of the preference will be ranked from top to bottom in WFM. You can delete and add preference for the same employee in one import file as long as you create the import file in this order. The logic of the file is very similar to WFM. If you are unsure what needs to be entered in which column, please refer to WFM or documentation. What is very important for you to do is after you have prepared the import file, it has to be saved with a specific name including the country. WFM-pref is the mandatory field name for the preference import file. So WFM-pref is mandatory. Next to it, what you can see over here is Poland. PL for Poland, NL would be for Netherlands, EE for Estonia, and so on. We also need to have an underscore, and whatever you specify after the underscore is up to you. You can enter your name, you can enter the preference import date, it's up to you. And the last thing is that the file has to be saved in a CSV, delimited format. So, WFM-pref, country code, underscore, and your chosen name for the file, saved in CSV, delimited format. Help file is going to be available for you to help you understand which of the columns are mandatory to be filled for each of the preference type import. We have reviewed the template for the import file. We will continue to explore examples and the whole import process during our training session number 4.